So to our final story on this week's show, and it comes from just about as far north on the British mainland as you can possibly get. If you've been a regular viewer to the Pavilion End this summer, you'll know we've been on the lookout for the worst team in the land. And it did seem that Newland Cricket Club, near Malvern in Worcestershire, were going to scoop the title. However, the bad news is, lads, you may just have been bettered, or in this case, worsted.
Who said we haven't been searching far and wide in our quest to find the worst team in the country? No expense spared, we ventured into the Scottish Highlands and beyond. Team disembarking? Surely not. But no, they haven't taken a wrong turn at the Firth. For them, it's just another Sunday League game in the Caithness League. Now, it may come as a surprise that cricket leagues exist at all in an area that has more in common with crofters than cricketers, but the game does have quite some history in this region.
Oliphant's the team I play for, and they were formed in 1856. And I believe around that area there were many village teams playing in Caithness and had a league, and this is long before football came to the county. And in Shetland, I believe it was even before that. And the other islands, Orkney Islands, were playing cricket before Caithness. There's been breaks. We were very strong in the 30s and 40s when they had a really good league going. That's 1930s and 40s. I know there's some breaks, and then because of bad weather, bad summers, it sort of falls through, and then it goes in cycles. Now we're back in strong cricket again.
The first Orkney side, St Magnus, was formed in 1864 after a gift of bats and balls were donated to the island by a Member of Parliament. Later that year, they played their first competitive game against a Caithness team from Thurso and were bowled out for the paltry total of 12. Such a feat was not repeated for over 120 years, that is, until last year. This time, the team from Thurso, Dounreay, were on the receiving end. Graham Crittenden witnessed the slaughter.
My recollection was we actually bowled Orkney out for something like 60, and we were mightily pleased with that performance. Unfortunately, their frontline bowler, Mr Graham Gibbons, was in startling form, and our all-out total was 12. Mr Gibbons, 8 overs, 4 maidens, 7 wickets for 4 runs, I think tells the story. I think the top scorer was 5, Mr Ian Sinclair, and no one else made above 1.
That feat earned Dounreay a nomination for the Pavilion End's Worst Team Award, and who better to put this to the test than their rivals from across the Firth, chose to bat first.
Basically one club. There's enough folk out to pull. I'm out. I'm in. What's say with that?
I would say we're better than the pub. Far better than the pub. Never been known to drop a drink yet.
But you see us batting. I think you'll probably find that's worse than our bowling.
Sadly, he wasn't wrong. Orkney's 175 looked an improbable goal right from the off. The cosmopolitan Orkney attack, boasting a burly Welshman, a nimble-fingered Old Etonian, and an ex-Lancashire League bowler. Together they've brought about a resurgence of the game on the Isles over the last few years, which is now catching on with resourceful youngsters.
I used to play inside the house, using boxes as fielders and old speakers as stumps, which is with a tennis ball and a tiny bat. So there's a board up against the wall, and the stumps at the other end of the room. And I stood beside the stumps with a bat in one hand, threw the ball against the wall, held the bat properly, and then just played.
Lack of facilities are not the only things the players must overcome. One reason the game has always struggled to establish itself in these parts is the weather. Not that these players would let that deter them.
We played in sleet and hail, and we played in Shetland earlier this summer, and we played in about a force 8 gale for the whole weekend, and you just allow for it's good for the swing. So.
Fortunately, this time the sun was shining. Well, that is, it was on the Orkney players. As for Dounreay, they were skittled out for a mere 21, but Orkney was sympathetic to their plight.
Well, they're keen, but they don't get much practice, they don't get much support, like a terrible pitch. But they do try, but they do their best, and that's about all you can say.
No one was quite certain whether the winning margin of 154 runs was one of the highest in the history of the tie, which has seen the tables well and truly reversed. What hasn't changed, though, is the manner in which they celebrate victory.
And on next week's Pavilion End, we will be announcing the winner of that most prestigious of awards, the terrible team of the summer of '96. Now, don't forget